Ever wondered how a kingdom of desert horsemen could push the mighty Roman Republic to its limits? This isn't just a story of battles. It's a tale of brilliant tactics, shifting alliances, and the sheer power of cavalry against the world's most disciplined infantry. Today, we're diving into the epic clash between Numidia and Rome. Before Rome became the master of the Mediterranean, North Africa was dominated by powerful kingdoms, and among the most formidable was Numidia. Located in what is now modern-day Algeria and parts of Tunisia, Numidia wasn't a land of sprawling cities like Rome or Carthage. It was a realm of rugged terrain, vast plains, and hardy people, masters of the horse. The Numidians were renowned for one thing above all else: their cavalry. So, what made the Numidian Cavalry so special? Imagine this: warriors riding without saddles or bridles, guiding their small, agile horses with just their legs and a simple rope around the horse's neck. They were the original masters of hit-and-run warfare. They'd swarm an enemy line, hurling a volley of javelins with deadly accuracy, and then vanish back into the dust before the enemy could even react. They didn't fight in neat, orderly lines like the Roman legions. Their strength was in chaos, speed, and surprise. They were a nightmare for any conventional army to face. For the Romans, whose entire military doctrine was built on disciplined, heavy infantry, the Numidians were a puzzle they struggled to solve. Our story really kicks into high gear during the Second Punic War, the legendary struggle between Rome and Carthage. This is where we meet two of the most fascinating figures of the era: the Numidian kings, Syphax of the west and Massinissa of the east. Initially, both were allied with Carthage against Rome. Massinissa, in particular, proved to be a thorn in Rome's side in Spain, where his cavalry tactics inflicted heavy losses on Roman forces. He was young, ambitious, and a brilliant commander. But the tides of war are ever-changing. The Romans, led by the legendary general Scipio Africanus, knew they couldn't win without neutralizing the Numidian threat. Scipio, a master strategist, saw an opportunity not just to defeat the Numidians, but to turn them into an asset. He began secret negotiations with Why would Massinissa, a successful Carthaginian ally, even consider switching sides? Well, politics. He had a fierce rivalry with Syphax, who, with Carthaginian backing, had seized his kingdom. Carthage chose Syphax over him, and for Massinissa, that was a betrayal he wouldn't forget. He saw that aligning with Rome was his best chance to reclaim his throne and unite Numidia under his rule. This alliance proved to be the turning point of the war. At the decisive Battle of Zama in 202 BC, the final showdown between Hannibal and Scipio, it was Massinissa's Numidian cavalry that sealed Rome's victory, while the Roman legions locked Hannibal's infantry in a brutal, grinding fight at the center. Massinissa's horsemen chased off the opposing Carthaginian cavalry, but they didn't just chase them off the field. In a brilliant tactical move, they wheeled around and slammed into the rear of Hannibal's veteran infantry. Surrounded and attacked from both front and back, Hannibal's army, one of the greatest of all time, finally broke. Rome had won the war, and Massinissa had won his kingdom. With Rome's blessing, Massinissa became the king of a united Numidia. He was a loyal and powerful Roman ally for the next 50 years. His kingdom flourished, becoming a major supplier of grain and, of course, elite cavalry for Rome's many wars. This was the golden age of Roman-Numidian relations. It seemed like a perfect partnership, but beneath the surface of this alliance, tensions were slowly building. Massinissa, ever ambitious, used his protected status to continually expand his territory at the expense of a now weakened Carthage. Rome turned a blind eye for a while, but Carthage's constant complaints eventually wore on them. This simmering conflict would ultimately lead to the Third Punic War and the complete destruction of Carthage. With their old rival gone, Numidia now shared a direct border with a growing Roman province in Africa. The friendly buffer was gone. After Massinissa's long reign, the story takes another dramatic turn with his grandson. Jugurtha was everything a Numidian prince should be: charismatic, brave, and a brilliant military commander. He even served with the Roman army in Spain, where he learned their strengths and, more importantly, their weaknesses. He saw that the Roman Republic of his time was not the same one that had defeated Hannibal. It was plagued by corruption. Jugurtha believed that in Rome, everything and everyone had a price. When the Numidian kingdom was divided among him and his two cousins, Jugurtha wasn't satisfied with his share. He launched a ruthless campaign to seize the entire kingdom for himself, assassinating one cousin and driving the other to seek refuge in Rome. This is where the Jugurthine War begins. Rome, officially the protector of Numidia, was forced to intervene. But Jugurtha played his game masterfully. He used his vast wealth to bribe Roman senators and commanders, delaying and disrupting Rome's military efforts at every turn. When the Roman legions finally did engage him in earnest, they found themselves completely out of their element. Jugurtha employed the classic Numidian hit-and-run tactics. On a grand scale, he would lure Roman columns into ambushes, strike their supply lines, and melt away into the desert before they could form up for a proper battle. He exhausted the legions, leading them on fruitless chases across a vast and unforgiving landscape. The war dragged on for years, a frustrating and humiliating stalemate for the world's greatest superpower. The Roman public was outraged. How could this desert king defy their legions for so long? The war exposed the deep-seated corruption in the Roman Senate and military. It took a new kind of Roman general to finally turn the tide. Gaius Marius. Marius was a new man, not from the traditional aristocracy. He reformed the army, opening it up to landless citizens and creating a more professional, loyal force. But even with Marius at the helm, capturing Jugurtha proved incredibly difficult. Jugurtha was simply too elusive. The end for Jugurtha came not on the battlefield, but through betrayal, just as he himself had so often used it. Marius's ambitious subordinate, Lucius Cornelius Sulla, managed to persuade Jugurtha's own father-in-law, King Balchus of Mauritania, to betray him, lured into a trap under the pretense of peace negotiations. Jugurtha was captured and handed over to the Romans. He was paraded through the streets of Rome in Marius's triumph and then, according to tradition, starved to death in a Roman prison. A grim end for a king who had outsmarted and outfought the Republic for so long. The Jugurthine War was a brutal lesson for Rome. It showed that military might alone wasn't always enough. It highlighted the challenges of fighting a guerrilla war against a determined and mobile enemy in a difficult environment. The Numidian Cavalry had proven that even the mighty legions could be bled, exhausted, and humiliated. Though Numidia was eventually absorbed into the Roman sphere and later became a Roman province, the legacy of its horsemen endured. Numidian cavalry continued to serve as elite auxiliary units in the Roman army for centuries, their skills recognized and respected by the very empire they once fought to a standstill. So the next time you think of Rome's great enemies, don't just think of Hannibal or Versailles. Remember the kings of Numidia and their desert horsemen, the masters of the whirlwind attack, who proved that even the greatest empires can be exhausted, not by a single killing blow, but by 1,000 swift and painful cuts. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into ancient military history, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.